Hi, my friends. You are highly welcome to my channel. My name is Mr. Adinuba, and in today we are going to be building the best animated developer portfolio on YouTube. As you can see on your screen, this is the application we are going to be building today. And as you can see, when I refresh, the element on the app transition into the scene with smooth effect. We're going to be learning how to do this using React JS. So when the page loads, take a look at the counter. So initially it will be 0, but from there it will count to what it's supposed to be. Also, the page animates on scroll. So this is the skill section. This is the services section. Look at it with smooth transition effect. Now let's go to the next section. This is the project section. So you can switch. So there are different categories of projects, and the first one is all, which means it will display all the projects. So here is the testimonial sections. If you have not subscribed to my channel and you know that my video is giving you value, why not subscribe now so that whenever I post videos, you will see my videos. Also click on the notification button on that notification button so that you'll be the first to get notified. Also, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up and also write your comment on the comment section. Guys, please subscribe to the channel. Support me by subscribing back to my channel. If I'm really giving you value, then you can support me by subscribing to the channel. Thank you as you do that. So as you can see, this application is also responsive. It is very, very responsive. And you can see that yourself. So you don't need to be a professional in order to be able to follow this tutorial. In fact, this tutorial is beginner friendly. In as far as you have basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can be able to follow along in this tutorial. Please guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel as we are about to start writing the code for this project. All right, so it is very, very responsive, and as you can see, the sidebar and everything looking cool and looking fine. So before we get started, please make sure you subscribe. I'm begging you in the name of God, subscribe to the channel. Support me by subscribing to my channel, and as you do that, God bless. Also like the video and write your comments down below. To start, we need to create a root folder where all our project files is going to live in. So let's click on open folder and let's go to document, and I'll create a folder here called innovative portfolio. And let me click on open to open it as my root folder. As you can see, it is open as the root folder. Let's open a new terminal and let's go to GitHub. We have a boilerplate for the project. I'll be placing this link on the description section so that you can come to this GitHub repository. So this is just a boilerplate to make our work easier. Like, it contains the images we're going to be using. So you can download the zip file, or if you have Git installed in your computer, you can click here on this button to copy this link, and you go to your terminal and write git clone and paste the link you copied and click on enter to clone. So this will clone that repo. So as you can see, it has cloned successfully. And if I open this folder, you see uh, the boilerplate code. Look at it. This is just a basic setup. Let's move it outside the folder. We want it to be uh, inside our innovative portfolio. So this folder is empty. Let's delete it because we don't need it. Let's explore what we have here. So first, in our public folder, we just have a bit logo, and the major focus is this SRC folder. So the first folder we have here is asset folder. So this contains the images we're going to be making use of in this project. That's what it just contains, nothing more. So now the next is app.js, and it just contains a basic component setup with a one line of heading. So the next one is index.css. So this contains just CSS variable declaration. So we're going to be making use of this variable declaration in this project. All right. And next, let's go to main. So this main.js is where our application is being rendered to the root to the root. All right. So as you can see, we have imported app.js and we included it here, which means anything we place within app.js will be visible. Also, index.css has been imported here, and anything in it will be global to the application. So the next is our sources.js file. So here we have imported images and icons we need. And here is we can consider this file as the data warehouse for this application, this project we're about to build. As you can see, we have data for the tabs. We also have data for why choose me. We basically have structured data for every component we are going to be creating. So this is to save time so that this video will not be too long. All right. Because if we want to structure this data in the video, it means we're going to spend a lot of time trying to structure it. But as it is already in the boilerplate, all we just need to do is to make use of it while we create components that has to deal with any of them. Now the next is let's check out our index.html. As you can see on the HTML tag, I've included a background. So this is so that when the application is refreshing, it will use this dark background. And I've also included a title. You can change the title to whatever you wish to change it to. Now, here is the package.json. It contains a list of the packages we're going to be making use of and also the versions. So one of the reasons why you should use this is because we will be able to use you will be able to use the same version of dependencies that I use. So let's install those dependencies by using npm install command. So as you can see, it's installing. This basically takes some few seconds. So it has installed successfully. And if you take a look, the node module folders has been added to our project. So to run the application, we use npm run dev. So you see it has generated a link for us. So let's copy the link and paste on the browser. So everything is just dark, but there's a text here. So let's go and change the color of that text. So let's say color white. So you see the color is white right now. And thanks, my subscriber. Thanks, guys. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe right now. So before we start creating components, let's write the general styles we're going to be using while creating components. So first, let's grab a link to a Google font called Poppins. So let's search for Poppins. This is it. Click on remove icon and click on get embed code. And let's make some changes. So I'll just select the one I want. Medium, semi bold, and bold. All right. Um, let's make sure this is on web and change it to at import. Let's copy the code and we paste it here at the top. Also remove the style tag because this is not HTML file. Now let's use universal selector. So this universal selector, any declaration I makes within this universal selector will affect every element in my project. So it means every element will have a margin of 0 and padding of 0, box sizing of border box, border of 0, text align of what's it called, text decoration of none, and outline of 0. Now we are styling the HTML and the body. So we make sure that the body and the HTML will have a minimum height of 100 VH. And VH stands for viewport height, which means it will take the height of the browser screen. So the font family we use Poppins, and if Poppins is not available, we'll make use of sans serif. The scroll bar color, let's choose primary and transparent. Overflow hidden, but overflow Y, let's say auto. Then the body bounce width is 1,800 pixel and margin should be auto. Font size 15 pixel and line height should be 20 pixel. So for the anchor tag, we want to make sure that the color is foreground and also the text decoration is none. By default, anchor tag has underline, so we want to stop that. So in HTML, we all know that we have H1 to H6. So we are making sure that the font weight of all of them is 500. Now our image, we want to make sure that our image fits any container we place in correctly. And this code will do that. So heading 1, let's give it a font size of 60 pixel and font weight of 700 and line height of 65 pixel. Now let's give it a margin, top and bottom, 20 pixel, left and right 0, and text align center. Now subtitle, also want to give it a font size of 20 pixel and text align of center. Now gradient text. So this class we're creating right now will be used to create text with gradient colors. So any element that contains text, and I use this class on the element, it means the text within that element we have a gradient color, not just a plain color. Now primary. So any element I use primary on, the color on the of the text in that element will have a primary color. Also muted, we use muted foreground color. So the wrapper is to make sure that we have a fixed width for every component and to make sure that every component is aligned very well. So section header. So in every component we're creating, we'll have a header. Some of them we don't have a header, but most of them will have a header. We're going to be using section header to wrap it. So align justify content center. So each time we want to place an item to the center, we don't need to be writing code from scratch. We just give it a flex center and that will be done. Now, icon wrapper. So this icon wrapper, we want to make sure that it has the same width and height and it will never shrink. That's why we're giving it a minimum and the maximum width and height. So let's give it a font size and also let's say border radius of 100%. Transition, bar transition. So on hover, we want to give it another background. Let's say BG accent, and let's transform it, but let's give it a color of foreground first. So let's transform it. Let's scale it to 1.1. So for the BTN now, this is the BTN class. We're going to be using this BTN class whenever we want to create buttons. We will be creating different kinds of button in this project, and it's a wise thing to create one class that we are going to be using to create all of them. So other way of going around this is to each time we create a button, we write a style differently for it. But that will be a lot of work for us. It means we will be writing more code instead of just writing one code that will handle everything for us. So next, let's write some responsive code because we want things we wrote here also to be responsive without we having to handle it in individually in the component we created. So first the wrapper and heading one, let's reduce the font size to 45 pixels and also let's give it a line height of 50 pixels. And our subtitle, we also have to reduce the font size to 18 pixels. And let's also at max width of let's say 600 pixels. We also will reduce the heading one font size also. Let's reduce it to something like 25 pixels and a line height of 30 pixels. Also, our subtitle will reduce the font size to 14 pixels. And guys, we are done with the general styles. Let's take a look at it on the browser. As you can see, there's not a lot of differences. Only the font family of the text change. So let's start creating components. First, let's create components folder. So we're going to create all the components we are going to be needing and we are then take them one after the other. So the first component we are creating is navbar, and within the navbar we create index.gss file and also navbar.css file. Let's go back to the index.gss file and we create the navbar component. And next we're going to let's write navbar here. Let's import our navbar.css. And let's head back to app.gss and we are going to import navbar from components and let's add it within our app.js. And look at the navbar we added. Now let's create the second component. We're going to call it hero. And within hero, we create index.js and also hero.css. So let's create hero component and let's write hero here. And let's import hero.css into this component. And in our app.js, we import hero and we add it right after navbar. Look at the hero we just added. Now let's go ahead and create the third component. So about, so we were just creating the different sections of the website of the project so that we can take them one after the other. Right about, and we import it. We add it after hero. Next component is skill. And let's create the index.jss and also skill.css. Let's import skill.css and let's import it in our app.js and add it after about. Look at it here. Now let's create the next component, which is services. So as usual, we create the index.js and also the services.css. So if you observe, every section that we create has its own CSS file. So this will help us write only CSS that is targeted for that section and will make our work easier and simpler. So let's add it after skill. And let's go ahead and create the next, which is the project. So as usual, we'll create the index.js and also the CSS file. Now let's import. Let's go ahead and import uh, the CSS file. And let's import the project in our app.js and let's add it right after services. Next, let's create, you see there's an error here, which means the error is saying that this file name is not correct. Okay, so let's create the next component, which is testimonials. Testimonials. Then we import testimonial.css and let's write testimonial here. Let's import testimonial components into our app.js. So the reason why we are placing everything within app.js is because anything that must be visible on the browser must must live within app.js. It must live within the component because app.js component is the only component that's being rendered to the browser. During the introduction of this video, I've shown you how it's being rendered to the browser within the main.js file. So we create the footer component and let's import footer.css and let's write footer over here and let's import footer here in our app.js and let's include it after contact. So we are done creating all the components. So we're going to be taking them one after the other. But let's start with the navbar, which is the first component. So let's close other files and let's start by changing this to nav. Now let's give it a class name of navbar and flex it. So as you can see, the flex we created here, see it, or I'm making use of it now in our navbar. So we're going to create two boxes. So let's add flex center here and tabs group and sidebar. So within here, we're going to loop through our tabs. First, let's import the tabs from the sources file. So let's look through our tabs here. So we're going to be using a link that we're going to be importing from React Scroll. We have already installed React Scroll. It's one of the dependencies that we're going to be using. To learn more about React Scroll, go to Google and search for React Scroll and read the documentation to gain more knowledge about it. Smooth, let's give it a value of true. And spy, make sure you specify spy and give it a value of true so that when we scroll to a section on the page, the tabs that correspond to that section will be activated. So also we give it a key of index since it is in a loop so that React will be able to differentiate. So let's add buttons class here, and we're going to create two buttons here using the link component that we imported from React code. So this first button will be a contact button. So when we click on this button, it's going to scroll to the contact section using smooth transition because as you can see, we specify smooth through. So we copy and we paste again. Let's make changes. So we change this to services and let's remove primary and change this to services BTN and let's change this into services over here. Now let's go and write some styles. So first of all, we'll start by selecting navbar and let's give it padding top and bottom 10 pixel, left and right 20 pixel. Also, let's give it a justify content of space between and border bottom. Let's say 0.5 pixel or 0.5 pixel border primary. And let's give it a position of fixed, top 0 and left 0. Also width of 100%. We're going to give it a width of 100%. And make sure you give it a width of 100% so that it will occupy the browser's width. Tabs group, and let's select the tab. So give it a padding of 5 pixel top and bottom, left and right 15 pixel, then border radius of 10 pixel, color of muted foreground, and transition. We have already created a variable called transition. We pass it here. A cursor pointer, 0.5 pixel, transparent, and let's add a hover to this. So here we change the color to foreground, and let's add active class. So a tab that has what's it called? If it has tab class and active at the same time, then this color I'm writing currently will be applied to it. And let's change the background to BG accent. Now let's select the buttons. So give it a gap of 20 pixels. So this is how it currently looks like. Now we are going to add a logo. So let's create the logo component. But first of all, let's create a what's it called folder called commons. And within the commons, we'll create our logo component. As usual, we create the index.gss file and also logo.css file. Then we go to the index.gss file and create the logo component. And we are going to import our logo.css into those components. Here, let's give it a class name of logo. And we're going to be using React icon as our logo. So let me import the icon we're going to be making use of. Laptop code. So let's add it here. And let's give it a class name of icon. And also let's come down here, use H1 and let's say portfolio. Now let's write some little styles. So we select our logo and we display it flex. We align the items to center and we give it a gap of 10 pixels. Now let's select the icon and let's see, increase the font size to 40 pixels and also the color, let's change it to primary accent. Now let's import the logo into our navbar and let's add it right before the first box. And this is it here. So you can use whatever icon you choose to use. All you just have to do is go to uh, React Icons website and search for the icon you wish to use and make use of it. So right now, let's create this state, open sidebar and set open sidebar. Now let's import use state from React and let's give it a default value of false. Now let's copy this open sidebar and let's add it to this place, but then let's use curly brace and backtick so that we can be able to write some JavaScript within here. So if open sidebar is true, we're going to add a class name to this, which is visible. And if it is false, we'll not add any class name. All right. So now let's make use of this set open sidebar. So I'm going to create a menu button here. Let's use icon wrapper and let's say menu btn. Here, let's import the icon we're going to be using for menu bar. So let's say, let's paste it here. And now let's add an on click here. So on click of this, uh, we are going to switch the value of open sidebar to opposite. So if open sidebar is true, it will become false. And if it is false, it will become true. So take a look at this now. Take a look. Let's inspect it. So this is it here. So when I click, as you can see, visible is added, and when I click again, it is removed. All right. So let's go back to the code, and let's create a cancel button here. So this cancel button will appear in our sidebar. We'll use CSS to convert this our tabs group to become a sidebar on a mobile. So let's import F8 times. That's what we're going to be making use of as our cancel button icon. So let's also add an on click here. Let's just copy this one and paste there. Okay. So look at the cancel button here. Now, the next thing we are going to do, let's add this cancel button here and let's just give it a value of false. And let's add overlay at the top here. So if open sidebar is true, we're going to add elements and give it a class name of overlay. And if it is not true, we'll not add any elements. So let's add this on click here so that when the user clicks on the overlay, the hide bar will be switch off. All right, the sidebar will be switched off. So let's write some CSS code here. Um, let's start by hiding those buttons that we have created on large screen. So on large screen, we don't want our menu BTN and cancel BTN to display. So we'll hide them. We'll only show them on mobile. So also let's write some code for this cancel BTN. Let's position it correctly. So let's say write 20 pixel and let's use at media But before then, let's just write some code for our overlay. We'll position it to be fixed. We'll give it top 0 and left 0. Also make sure the width is 100%. But first of all, let's write the background. I will give it a transparent dark background, and we'll give it a Z index that is higher than the navbar. Remember, when we are creating our navbar at the top, we give it a Z index of 100, but here we give this overlay a 110 Z index because we want it to be on top of the navbar. All right, so now let's um, write the responsive code. So inside this responsive code, that's where we're going to convert the navbar, the tab group to become a sidebar. So first of all, we need to hide the service buttons at some point. So when the width of the screen is 1050 downward, the service button will not the display will be known, which means it will not show. So when we are at screen width of 930 downward, the tab groups, which also has a class name of sidebar, will be converted to a sidebar. So that's what I am trying to do right now. This is the code. This code I'm writing now we do the job for us. So let's give it a background of BG primary and flex direction of column, justify content of flex start, and align items of spread. Also padding 20 pixels, then padding top, let's say something like 50 pixels, and transition, we give it transition. All right, so let's switch to inspection mode. So as you can see, our sidebar over here. So let's hide it by default. So we're only going to show it when a visible class is being added. So if visible class is present, we're going to say left 0. Now let's display the menu btn and also the cancel btn at this point. So let's display flex. Let's now take a look at this on the browser. As you can see, we will click, it will appear. And we'll click on the overlay to disappear. Also on the cancel button, it will also disappear. Um, okay, so the contact btn, we need to hide it at some point. So let's just copy this and let's paste it here. And let's adjust the width to 400 pixels. And let's select the contact btn. And we're going to hide it at this point because there's not enough space to contain it. So you see it is hidden. It will only appear when there is enough space for it to be there. So let's create another component called social handles. Uh, let's create the index.jss and also the social handle.css. Now let's create the component and let's import social handles from the sources file. In the sources file, we have the social handles data that we can look through in order to get those social handles. So it has name, it has link, and it has icon. We're going to look through the social handles here and we output them. So let's say handle and index, and let's pass the link here and let's give it a key. Also, let's output the icon here. Now let's give it target blank So we're giving it a target of blank because we want when a user clicks, it will open on a new tab. Now let's give it icon container class and let's write some CSS code for this. So we'll say handles container to display it flex, align the items to center, and give it a gap of 10 pixels. Now let's import it into our navbar. We import social handles here, and let's add it before the second box. And here is it. It's supposed to appear aligned horizontally. Or what is the problem? What could be the problem? Display flex. Oh, we did not import social handle.css. So let's import it, and this will solve our problem. So this is it. We have successfully added it. So let's make sure that it is responsive. So let's add here. Let's add it here. And let's edit this to 1210. So here we are going to hide the social and the handles container. So let's display it to none. And this is it. So it will only appear when there is enough space for it to appear. And this is it, guys. I think we are done with a navbar. So that is success, guys. If you're watching this video to this extent and you have not subscribed, guys, uh, please make sure you subscribe. Now let's get started with the hero section. So we will start by changing this to section. If you like, you change it to section or you just leave it to, as a text, which is a div. We can change it to anything we wish, but we just decide to give it section. All right. So let's create two columns here. Now let's focus on the first column. Here we are going to create first the subtitle. Let's write some text here. I am. Let's wrap this text within primary. A manual easy. And let's create the heading one. And let's say a full stack web developer. And here, let's create some description. Just type Lorem in your VS Code and it will generate this lorem ipsum text for you, except you are not using VS Code editor. So in VS Code, it's just simple to generate this dummy text by just typing lorem. So here we're going to create two buttons. So the first button, let's say learn more, and let's pass some prompts to this link. So when you click on this, it will scroll to services, and we add smooth through and class name btn, and let's say primary here. Now let's copy this button and paste, and let's edit it. Change this to contact. Let's remove, and let's change this one to get started. Now let's go to the second column and let's add hero image class. Now let's create an image tag. Now we're going to import the image we're going to be making use of. This is the image. Uh, we import it from the asset folder. You can give it any name you wish, but make sure the address you are specifying is correct, and also the extension of the image must be correct. So this one is .png. So now let's use the name here, which is me. And we are done with this markup for now. Let's go ahead and write some CSS code. So we select hero and let's say overflow hidden and also position its relative. Now let's select the info container, display it grid and use grid template columns, gap of 20 pixel and minimum height of 100 VH, viewport height. And we are going to select our first column. So we use end child and we'll pass one to it, which means it will select the first column that is a direct child of info container and give it a padding top of 70 pixels. So select the body heading one and the subtitle with text align it to left because we want the text inside to be aligned on the left side, as you can see. And we select our wrapper and the buttons wrapper within it. Let's justify the content to let's start so that it will start from the left side. And as you can see, it's looking good, guys. This is awesome. All right, so we let's try to check how responsive it is. You see, it is not responsive. We will try now and make it responsive. So let's say responsive code and max width. So info container, everything. We're using universal selector after info container, which means we're selecting everything within info container and we are test aligning it to center. Also, with the info container, the grid template columns will now be 100. So as you can see, it's fitting perfectly fine. Now, let's create achievement component. So in this achievement component, that's where we're going to be listing we're going to have the list of achievements in a counter so that when the page loads, it begins to count. So we create achievement and we import our achievement.css. Now let's import the achievement here in our hero and let's add it after, uh, let's add it down here. Let's first of all create achievement, let's say cluster. And let's create a wrapper. And within this wrapper, we're going to add the achievement. So take a look at it here. So let's begin to write some code for it. So first of all, let's mark it up. And let's start by giving this a class name of achievement container. And let's create about 3 cards. Let's just create the first one and we duplicate it and edit. So here, title, just say plus and p.meted.name. Let's say years of experience, or let's say years experience. Now let's import odometer from React odometer.js. React odometer.js is one of the dependencies we have already installed. So we're going to pass a value to it. And also let's give it a class name. Let's say title. Now let's import use state. We are going to give it initial value, and as time goes on, we're going to use set timeout to change the initial value so that it will count from the initial value to the current value we're going to set using timeout. But for now, let's just create all of the cards we need, and then we can go ahead and use timeouts to change its values. So yeah, we remove this. Let's just write client worldwide, and let's create another state here, client, state client, and we pass a value of 0 to it. Later we'll change the value. Now this one, let's remove it, and let's say k plus here, and let's change this here to completed projects, and let's create another one. Let's call it project and set project. So let's add project here, and there is it. So let's come up here. First, we're going to import use effect because we need to write our code within use effect. So we pass a callback function and a dependencies bar, although we don't have any dependencies to pass. So we create this variable and we assign set timeout to it. First, we pass a callback to set timeout and a time in milliseconds. So we specify 3000 seconds, which is equivalent to 3 seconds. So we are going to be changing the values. So set client will change the value to 421. Also, our set experience is 6 and our set project is 1.2. Now let's return a function to clear the timeout in order to free the memory. So we are done with this. Let's take a look at what we have. As you can see, there are error here. Okay. There is an error in, all right, in set timeout. The spelling is wrong. So let's change this to lowercase. So as you can see, this thing does not make sense. So what we need to do right now is to add some CSS code. So we need to add the odometer theme code. Let's search for React odometer. So this is it here. Let's click on it. Now here is a documentation, but what we want is the theme. So you see the official themes can be found here. So let's click on here. And these are all the React odometer themes. So the one we want is the default. So let's just click on this. And let's highlight all of this CSS code and copy it. And let's paste it over here. So these codes with asterisks, let's delete them because we don't need them. And there are some missing code. For example, here, back fixed visibility. Let's add it. Transform. And let's add it also. And if you come back and I see how it is, it's now well structured. And you see it's start counting. And that is it. So let's write code for the cards, for our container and the cards. So we're going to display it to be grid, and we're going to say grid template column repeat 3, comma 1 fr, and we'll give it a gap of 20 pixels. And let's select the card. We'll give it a width of 100% and a padding of 20 pixels and background of BG accent. Border radius of 20 pixel transition. We add our transition variable. So on hover, let's change the background to the BG secondary. And also let's transform it to 0.97. Next, let's copy this and let's paste. Now let's increase the size of the title to So 50 pixel, font weight is 700, and margin is 0. And the name, let's specify a text aligned to center and a font size of 20 pixel. You can see this is how it currently looks like. Now let's make it responsive. At media 1150 pixel, let's reduce the title, the font size of the title to 30 pixel. Now let's reduce the font size of the name to 12 pixel. Also, let's specify at 500 pixel, max width of 500 pixel. We're going to give this a gap of 10 pixel. And also let's select the card, what's it called, the card, and let's give it a padding of 10 pixel. Now let's go ahead and select the title again and reduce it to 20 pixel font size. So let's take a look at this. Let's switch to inspection mode. And as you can see, this is how it looks like on mobile. Now, let's go back to uh, the code. And here, let's copy this cluster in our hero section. And let's write the code here in the hero section, in the hero CSS file. We're going to give it a position of absolute and a bottom of 0. And let's give it left of 0. And also make sure the width is 100%. It is very important. And let's say WebKit back, WebKit backdrop feature. Let's blow it to 100 pixel. And let's write backdrop feature to 100 pixel. So the reason why we're using WebKit for us is so that we will support a WebKit browser, so that it will be working perfectly fine here. So look at it. This is awesome, guys. This makes a lot of sense. So this is it. So later on, we're going to come back and animate the hero section. We're not going to be writing the animation for now. Let's finish all the parts we are creating before we start writing animation code. So here in about, um, let's say H1. Okay, let's just create session header first, and let's use H1 dot heading 1 to create a H1 with a class heading 1. So here inside, we add a span that has a class name of gradient text, and we'll add about us there. Let's go ahead and create the the subtitle. So here in the subtitle, we're going to just type lorem in our VS Code and generate this lorem ipsum text. So we break it to see all the parts. Now let's create this group and let's import why choose me from our sources file, and let's map through it here, and let's return this. Let's give it a class name of Flex Center group item, and let's give it a key of index so that React will be able to differentiate them. This is a loop, and each time you are returning uh, code like this in a loop, you have to give the parent a key. So here, let's write our CSS code. Look at how it looks like currently. Now let's select about and select our group. We display its grid, and let's grid template column repeat. 21FR and a gap of 30 pixel and margin top of 40 pixel. Let's give it a background of BG accent. Border radius of 10 pixel and border, let's say solid 0.5 pixel or 0.5 pixel border primary. The color will be border primary, but let's just remove this because we don't even need that border of the thing. Oh, let's say group item here. Will 200% background is BG secondary and padding should be 30 pixel. Justify content reflects it to the start so that it will start from the left side. And we'll give it a border radius of 10 pixel. Next, let's give it a border of solid of 0.5 pixel border primary. It will be the color. So if we write 0.5 instead of 0.5, the browser will automatically understand that we're trying to write 0.5. So we'll start with points. So here on hover. Now the title within our group item, let's change the color to let's say muted foreground. And also let's increase say the font size should be 14 pixel and the transition, we give it our transition variable. Next, on hover, we are going to change the color of the title to foreground. And also the icon wrapper on hover of our group item, let's transform it to 1.1 and change the color also to foreground. Now let's refresh. Something is wrong. Okay, this is supposed to be an ID, not a class name. So this is how it looks like. And this is cool, guys. Let's check how responsive it is. So it is not really responsive. So let's write the responsive code here. So at media, max width of 1000 pixel, we select the group item and we'll make sure that the flex direction should be column and the justify content center, text align with the center, and also we give it a gap of 10 pixel. And look at how it looks like currently. Still, it is not completely responsive. So let's say 500 pixel, max width of 500 pixel. We'll select the group and we'll give it a grid template column of 100%, which means uh, every card in there, every group item will be 100% wheeled. Can you see that? So yeah, this is supposed to be muted. Okay, and that is it. We are done with this section. Later on, we are going to animate it. So let's work on the skills. Let's change this to section. And let's give it an ID of skill and create a wrapper within. So here we create section header and within we use h1 dot heading 1 to create this dot gradient text and let's write my skills. And here let's create skills container. And here we're going to look through our skills. So let's import it. Let's import skills from our sources Y and let's look through it here. There's a lists index and let's return. So let's create skill card here so that we can just import it into our skills, our skill index and make use of it. So skill card, let's import skill card.css, and let's come back to here and let's import the skill card. Let's copy this here. Now we're going to pass our list to it, we destructure it, and also we give it a key. So whatever list contains will be passed as a prop to our skill card. So here, let's receive the data here. So the title, and let's give it a class name of skill card. Now let's go ahead and write the remaining part. So first of all, we have the title, and let's upload the title. Now let's look through the data. The data itself is an array, so we're going to look through it. So let's say data.map, and that's use based index. So we're going to be looping through it, and let's give this a class name of skill details, and let's give it a key of index. Now let's import what is called the icon we're going to be using for each of the skill. So we'll be using this icon. Let's add it first, and let's give it a class name of skill icon, and also as a details, and we'll create skill name within this, and let's say list the skill. You can go into the sources folder to study how our skills data is being structured. So when you look at it and you see what we're doing here right now, you will be able to understand it. So let's write some CSS code for our skill card. So let's give it a border of 1 pixel solid, transparent, and transition, that's transition variable to it, and border radius of 20 pixel. Let's say background BGS sent. Now let's select on hover of our skill card. We make the background transparent. We also change the border color to border primary. And let's change the cursor to default. And let's align center, margin bottom to rim. Display everything grid. I would say grid template column 1F5, 1F5. And let's skill details, display it flex, and we'll give it a gap of 1 rem. And the skill icon, let's give it a margin top of 6 pixel, and also a color of primary, and let's select our details, then the skill name. First, let's give it a font size and a font width. On skill level, let's give it a font size, and this is how it currently look like. Now let's make it responsive. So max width of 350 pixel. So we are going to reduce the font size of the skill name to 12 pixel, and the details field level 10 pixel. Now let's come over here and let's display the skill to grid, and That's a grid template column. Oh no, there's an issue here. Not the skill. We're not. What we're supposed to display a grid is the skills container. This is incorrect. Skills container, and this is it. Wow. So let's make it responsive. So, media max width of 1024 pixel. We are going to say that the screen container should have a grid template columns of 100%. And padding of 2 RAM, margin of 0 auto, and this is it. Okay, so let's remove this road. Also, let's remove this. Let's say with 100%, and this is it. Awesome, guys. Also, let's paste this here and let's edit this. So 600 pixel. Let's copy this and let's paste here and let's give it a gap of 1 rem. And also let's copy this one. Let's reduce the padding to something like 2 rem up and down and 1 rem left and right. So this is it. See how it looks like. This makes sense, guys. Let's just add margin top here. And we are done with this. So let's close all of this file and let's go to the next one, which is services. Let's change this to section and let's give it an ID of services. And let's create a wrapper within and let's create the session header. Standard gradient text services. And let's create h4 dot subtitle and let's write this text. You can write any other thing you wish to write, but I just choose to write this. Desires into a distinctive web project that both inspires you and captivates your customers. And let's say services container here. So we're going to be looping through our services. Let's import the services from our sources folder, sources file, I mean to say. And we are going to loop through it here. Let's return this div and give it a class name of service and a key of index. Icon wrapper. Let's say service.icon. And also let's add boot with h3.name. Let's add gradient text to it. So say service dot name, service dot description. So this is the description. Also, let's add buttons. down here. So this is it. Let's import link. Let's create a second button using link we imported from React Scroll. Next, let's go ahead and write some styles. Let's open our CSS file and let's select services, then services container, and let's give it a gap of 20 pixels. And margin top 40 pixels. And let's tie the service. So the service are those cards in the loop. They are the cards in the loop. So align the items to center, justify the contents to space between, and give it a flex direction of column. The reason why we are displaying it flex and making sure that the flex direction is column is because we want all of them to have equal height and the contents within to be distributed equally. All right. Border color, border primary, icon wrapper. So let's give it a width of 4 rem and a height of 4 rem. Also, we want to make sure that it has the same width and height. No matter what happens, it will not shrink. That's why we're adding this minimum and maximum height and width. Give it the font size and also a margin button. Now on hover of this, let's transform the icon wrapper by scaling it to 1.1. Let's select the name and give it a margin button of 15 pixels. Let's also select the buttons wrapper and let's see that the margin button should be 30 pixels. So let's see, this is how it looks like currently. And this is awesome, guys. It's not responsive yet, so let's go ahead and make it responsive. So at media, max width of 1000 pixel. Then let's select this and let's paste it over here. And grid template column will be 2, 1 FR. Also, let's copy this and paste down here. And let's change this into 700 pixel. And let's change this to 100%. See, this is how it looks like currently. And this is awesome, guys. This is awesome, awesome. Now let's go to projects. Let's change this to section, and let's give it an ID of projects. So all this ID we're using on this component we're creating, if you noticed, it's the same with the ID we have on our tabs. The reason it must be the same is because when the user clicks on the tabs, we only determine where the pages will scroll to by the ID. So any ID that is the same with the ID of the tabs will that is where the page will be scrolled to when that tab is being clicked. So active project, and let's look through the active projects. So the reason why we are creating this state and adding the active project is because we're going to be adding a pagination to this, and we're going to be displaying the project based on the pagination that is being clicked. We only display all the project when the pagination is in all. So we create project card. We will not create pagination now. Let's focus on creating the project card and putting all the project. Then we now go ahead and create the pagination. So let's import our project.css here. And let's go ahead and import the project card over here. And let's copy it and let's return it here. And let's destructure our project here, which means every content of project will be passed to our project card as props. So let's receive those props here. So we receive the title, the image, the description. If you want to see how the project is being structured, open it on the sources file and take a look at how it's being structured. And when you take a look at the props we are specifying here, it's the same with the way it's being structured over there. So if the class name is passed, we're going to add a class name. If not, we'll add nothing. Now let's output the image here and let's use the title as the alternative in case the image did not load. So let's specify here middle and bottom here. And let's come here and output the title. So let's go ahead to the second one, which is the middle. Here we are going to output the description. And the bottom here, we are going to create what we call stack container. So here we're going to be outputting the stack used for the particular project that is being outputted. So again, when you take a look at it on the sources file, you will see the stacks key where we have an array the stacks used for building the project. So we are putting them right within here, but let's wrap it within a container. Let's give it a class name of stack box. And let's say stack icon container. And here, let's add the stack icon. Let's say list.icon. And here, the stack name. So this is how it looks like. Now we will go ahead and add some styles here. So we want to add different colors for the icons. So we have already incorporated this in the sources file. And this is how it looks like currently. As you can see, our icons have different colors. Let's write styles for our project card. So we select the project card, we give it a border radius of 10 pixels and a background of BG accent. A border of 1 pixel solid border primary and a transition. Let's say background should be 200 millisecond and the border should be 200 millisecond. And we give it overflow of hidden and display of flex, line items of stretch, and flex direction of column. So we're also doing this so that our project card will always assume the same height with others and also distribute the content accordingly across all of the card, which means if the first card does not contain the same, for example, the length of the description is more than the second uh, card length of description, the card, all of the card will still maintain the same height and the same positioning of the its content. So that's why we're using the display and making sure that it's being flex direction into column. So let's on hover. Okay, let's start the details. So we display it also flex. Justify the content to space between and flex direction is also to column. And the middle now, let's give it padding bottom of 1 rem. And also let's give it a border bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a height of 100 pixel, and overflow S should be hidden while overflow Y should be altered. And let's select the description. We will change the font size to 14 pixel, and let's come here and select our button. So here we're going to make sure that the padding is 1 rem top and bottom, and left and right 0. Also flex 1 so that it will occupy any remaining space. And the stars container, we give it a flex of 1 also. We'll display it to flex and justify the content to flex start and gap of 1 rem. Then stack left and also the stack I what's it called, the stack box. Let's give them a border radius of 10 pixel and also background of BG secondary for the primary, and padding of 10 pixel. Now stack left will display to reflex, align the items to center, and let's go again. And this time let's select the stack uh, right, and we give it a flex of 1. So this is just as the same as saying flex grow. And we just say flex 1 and create template column, repeat 2 1 FR. And then let's select the stack icon container. And here, let's display to reflex, align the item to center, give it a gap and a font size. Let's go ahead and select the stack icon again and change the font size to 18 pixel. And the stack name, let's just align it to center, and we'll give it a font size of 15 pixel. Then our buttons container. Let's add a buttons container below here. So let's say buttons container. So here we're going to create two buttons. So the first one is for the demo link, and the second one will be for the share. So let's say target blank so that it will open in a new page. Now let's copy this and okay, let's just come here. Let's create another btn. So it's for share. Let's import the share icon from beyond icons. So we are going to add it here. And let's write some code here. First, let's give it a margin top of 1 rand. Justify content of space between. And let's come over here and select the btn share. Look at it over here. Now let's go ahead and give it some padding of 15 pixel top and bottom and 20 pixel left and right, and a font size of 10 pixel. So look at how it looks like. Now let's give it some border, transparent. So let's select this and add a hover to it. So let's change the background and also let's change the border color to border primary. Can you see that? Now let's go ahead and make it responsive. So at media mount width of 700 pixels. So our stack icon will reduce the font size to 14 pixels. And the stack name will reduce the font, the text align and also the font size. We say the text align is center and the font size will be 12 pixels. So this is how it looks like. Now let's come over to here. Now let's, in our projects, the CSS, let's try some CSS code. So we select the projects container and repeat 2, 1 fr and give it a gap of 50 pixels and margin top of 40 pixels. Okay, let's come back here and let's place everything within a wrapper. Let's copy it and paste it here within a wrapper. Let's make sure that it's been moved inside very well. Okay, so this is how it looks like right now. And this is awesome, guys. So it is not responsive. Let's make it responsive now. At media max width of, let's say, 900 pixels. So we're going to give it a grid template column of 100%. What is the problem? Okay, let's refresh. Something is wrong somewhere. So, okay, projects. As you can see, this is cool, guys. Awesome. It's responsive now. Now let's go come over here. Let's go ahead and create our project navigation. So let's create the index.js and also the project navigation.css. And let's go ahead and create a component, project navigation, and import project navigation.css. Now let's import the project navigation into our project component and let's add it over here before the services container. So look at it here. Now let's go ahead and write some code for our project navigation. So first of all, we'll be needing a prompt, which is tab and on click on change I need to say. Now let's create a state here called active index and let's also pass the set active index. Using use state, let's assign a value of 0 to it. Now let's import use ref and let's create a ref here. So this ref will be an array of elements. So we're going to pass in new array to it. Now within here, let's just change this to nav and let's give it a class name of project navigation. So our tabs, okay, let's change this. Okay, we'll map through the tabs and let's return a button. So here we output the tab and here we add our ref. So this will be arrays. So we add it to, let's say, index here and should be equal to L. So next, let's add on click to it. So on click of this, we'll set the active index to index. And on change, we set it to tab. Now we also add the key of index. Now here, let's create our indicator. So this is the indicator. We'll be moving this indicator based on active uh, the active index offset. So also let's say width. Okay, so now let's come over here. First thing we're going to do is let's declare the offset of our active index here. Let's give it a value of 0 or start. And also let's declare the indicator width. And also let's give it a value of 0 for a start. Now let's import user field here. So within this user field, let's pass in active index as a dependency. Now we create const, then previous element will be equal to items l dot current dot filter. Then let's pass index here will be equal to active. It will be less than active index. So let's set the offset. So before we set the offset, let's create what we call sum arrays. So we're going to sum this array. We're going to be using it to sum this array that is passed to it. So we use for each and Let's go ahead and say sum plus equal to array. Okay, so let's return the sum here. Now let's add sum array here and let's pass previous element to it. So then we map it. So whatever the previous element of this dot map returns will be passed to some array for evaluation. We need to return the final value and assign it to offset. Also the width of our indicator, let's map to our item element here. And the offset width will be the width. So let's add our offset here. And also let's add the indicator width here. And I think we are done with this. Let's go ahead and write some styles. Let's write some styles for this. So we select our project navigation, position is relative, and the max width will be max content, which means whatever be the maximum content will be its maximum width. Margin auto and margin bottom will be 40 pixels. So the button, let's style it. Position is relative also. I will display it inline block. I'll give it a font size of 14 pixels and also a font weight of 500 and color of foreground. There's decoration, none, padding of 0 pixel top and bottom and 20 pixel left and right. Z index of 1, cursor pointer and background of transparent. Now the indicator, let's give it a position of absolute and let's say top 0, left 0. Z index of 0 and a height of 100%, order radius of 10 pixel and a transition. Cursor will also be pointer and we use gradient 3 on it. So let's make it also responsive at media, max width 700 pixel. We select the button and we are going to give it a font size of 12 pixel. Also, at max width of 400 pixel, let's just reduce the font size again to 10 pixel. And that is it. Let's refresh. Uh, so let's take a look at this. Some error, something went wrong somewhere. So let's go back to the project. Uh, we need to supply values to the tabs and the unchanged that we created. So first of all, let's create a function that will get the tabs for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to look through the categories in our project and we're going to use the unique names of the categories as our tabs. So, but first of all, the tab we have a value of all. All right. So this function now will get the unique names of categories, and we are going to make use of it as tabs. So let's say get tabs here. We call the function here, and can you see that? So look at UI, US, and web, and all of that. So let's also create search project function so that when the user clicks on the tabs, this search project function will be able to display, it will be able to assign to active projects those project that has the categories of the tab that was clicked. So if not, we'll see new project equal to project that filter and project the uh, item that category equal to value. Let's uh, come over here and new project. Let's go ahead and change this to item because that's what we use. Now let's take a look at this on the browser, but before then, let's add the on change here and add stage project. So look at it. So if we click here, you see it shows two projects. It shows two projects that has the category that we clicked. All right. So here, let's say use effect. We want to add smooth transition effect to our project card. So let's create a load here and set load here. If we go ahead and just add some animation, it will not work except we do this I'm about to do right now. So we're going to use set timeout. We first of all we set the load to true and we set timeout that we're going to switch the load back to false. And let's say set load here first. So let's come over here. Remember we have a class prob here. So if load is true, we add zoom, else we add nothing. So let's come over here into our project card and let's add zoom class here and add animation. So the name of the animation will be zoom in. Let's say 400 milliseconds. And here, let's create the animation called zoom in. And at 0%, we're going to scale it to 0.7. Uh, let's try transform, then use scale. And also at 100%, scale it to 1. So let's click. This doesn't look, it's not cool as when we use only scale. So let's just change this to scale, only scale. Remove the transform, remove the transform to 1. So let's click. This is more smooth. So let's go ahead and testimonials. Let's work on this. And let's start by changing this to section. And let's give it an ID of testimonials. So we create a wrapper here and we create a session header. And here we are going to write gradient test and write testimonials here. So here, let's create a subtitle. And let's say what my clients are saying. So let's import slider from React Snake. So React Snake is one of the dependencies that we have already uh, installed. So also let's import the clients, the client's data from our sources file. You can open the sources file to take a look at the client data, how it's being structured. So index, let's return React.fragment and let's give it the key of index. Let's output the image here, image.image, And let's use the name as the alternative. Okay, let's output the name. And let's output CEO of you can change this to anything you wish, or you can add a key for this on the client data in the sources file so that it will be different. So here we have put the reviews, and let's say stars container, and we use FA star. Now let's go ahead, duplicate, and then import the star icon from React icon. Now, what we will do next is uh, let's give this in a class name. Let's give it a class name of testimonials container. And also, let's come here and grab React Sneak style. So let's search for React Sneak. So here is it. Let's click on it. And let's go to the docs. So the instruction to install it here is here. So let's just copy the style and paste. So you can learn more about React Sneak here. So let's just copy this setting and let me create settings here, and let's edit this to suit what we want to create. Let's go ahead and add pause and hover so that when we place cursor on it, it will stop scrolling. So that is the essence of pause and hover, and we give it a value of true. So autoplay speed 3000 millisecond, which is equivalent to 3 seconds. So let's make it responsive. So the first breakpoint will be 900, and so here we add a setting that the slide to show will be 1 year. So let's add this settings here. Let's just structure it here, and let's import use ref. So over here, let's create a ref. So let's just pass null to it, and let's add the ref to our slider component. Now we're going to be using the ref here. Let's create a buttons wrapper, or let's call it buttons container. And let's create the first button. This first button will be for the previous. Um, the next button I'm going to create will be for the next. So I'm going to be using this icon, adding here right now, left. So let's go up there and import this icon. Let's go and import it. So let's do long here. So let's also import the right. Right. Okay. So let's come and then make use of it. So you see error is here. So what we will do is let's add on click to this. So on click of this button, we're going to say ref.current.sneak pre sneak previous. So when we click on it, it will take us to the previous slide. So we'll copy and paste. And let's say this one should be sneakness, and let's change the icon to right. Now this is it. Now let's go ahead and write some styles. So first of all, let's select testimonials, then testimonials container, margin top 20 pixel, and let's select the sneak track and display it first, make it important, and also let's give it a gap of 20 pixel. And let's select our sneak slide. Let's give it a height of inherit. and give it importance. So whatever be the height of our sneak track will be the height of this sneak slide. Border, solid, let's say 0.5 pixel, solid, or border primary. And display, flex, align the items to stretch. The flex direction should be column. Transition. Now let's add uh, an hover. Let's add hover to it. So we're going to change the background to BG method. So let's select the div, which is the direct child of our sneak slide, and we'll display its flex, align the item stretch, and we are going to flex direction it to column. So we're just making sure that every of our card within what is it called sneak will have the same height. Okay, so it will use the highest height will be the height of the slide that has the highest content. So, but it will always maintain the same height. No, no, so select the content and replace it to one so that it will occupy any space that is remaining after the other items occupy their space. Color, let's say warning, and the buttons container, we can see the buttons container, just paste it. Gap will be 10 pixel and margin top will be 20 pixel. Also, let's select the BTNs and add hover to it. So on hover, the background will be transparent, and this is it. Let's check it. Let's check it and see how it is. There is a problem here. Okay, there's something that is not aligned well. Let's go back to the markup. Let's go to the markup and take a look at it. Everything is cool here. So let's come over to the markup. This thing is not supposed to be here. So we're going to move the content out. The contents and the star container. Let's move it out and let's place it here. Correct. So this is where it's supposed to be. And look at it, looking good. Also, we are going to be hiding this less than previous button because we have created a custom one which we want to be making use of. So sneak preview and sneak nest, display loan, and make it important, guys, so that it will be override. And this is it. And as you can see, this is responsive, guys. Very, very responsive. Okay, so we are done with this. Let's close this, and let's go to contact. So we start by changing this to section, and let's give it an ID of contact. And let's create a wrapper, and let's see contact options. So let's import our contact options here. And let's look through it here. So again, you can open the sources file to take a look at how contact options is being structured. So Let's give it a class name of flex center and option. And here icon wrapper. Let's output the icon, option and icon. And here let's output the title. And next, let's output the value. So over here, let's create what we call the contact form. So let's create top, middle, and bottom. So now let's go to the top. So let's create a title. Let's wrap it within a gradient text. So let's say join forces with me. And here, let's write some description. Let's just type I build with precision and passion, creating web projects that stand out. It's as straightforward as that. Now here in the middle, we're going to create this input for the first name. Let's give it a name of first name and give it a class name of control. And let's copy this and paste down here. Let's change this one to last name, last name. And let's copy the whole row and let's paste it again. Let's change this to email, the title, type I mean to say, and the placeholder, let's say email address, and the name, let's say email. So the second one, let's change it to tell, then phone number, the placeholder, and the name should be phone. Now let's create down here text area. So give it a name of message. Let's give it a code of 30, codes of 30, and rows of 10. And let's give it a class name of control. And down here, let's add a flex center to the bottom. And let's over here create a button, btn, then let's add primary to it. And let's say send now. So let's go ahead and style all of this. Let's go and style it. Let's open the CSS folder. And now let's select contact. Then the wrapper, let's display it to the grid. And let's use grid template column 400 pixel, then auto, which means the first column will have a width of 400 pixel, while the second column will occupy the remaining space that is remaining. Then we'll align the item stretch and give it a gap of 20 pixel. So our options, give it a background of BG accent, and let's give it a pattern of 20 pixel and a border radius of 10 pixel and flex direction of column and also a border of solid 0.5 pixel border primary. So the border primary is just a variable name we declared on our index.css. So on hover, we're going to transform it and also change the background to BG mated. So the icon wrapper, let's give it a width and height. So also let's make sure that it always maintain the same width and height no matter what happens. It will not shrink. It will always maintain the same width and height. That's why we're specifying mean width and max width. So the color, let's say foreground when it's being hovered on. And this is it. So we are done with the contact option. Now let's go ahead and start the form, contact form. So we select the contact form and we give it a background of BG accent and the padding of 40 pixel. Also the title, let's give it a font size of 40 pixel. The row, justify content space between and a gap of 20 pixel. The controls, let's display it block and also let's give it a weight of 100% and a padding of 10 pixel. Also, let's give it a margin top and bottom of 20 pixel on left and right of 0. And let's give it a background of BG hammer. And let's go ahead, give it a color of foreground and also a font size of 15 pixel and a transition and border of solid 2 pixel border hammer. And resize, we say none because we don't want, for example, our test area to resize. We just want to have the width and height it has. The user should not be able to resize it. That's why we included resize known to our control. So on focus of the control, we need to change the border color and also the background to the background should be BG secondary. And the bottom, give it a margin top of 40 pixel. And the button inside, let's display it to the block and let's give it a padding top and bottom 20 pixel, left and right 30 pixel. And also let's make sure that the mark width is 300 pixel. And this is how it looks like. This is cool, guys. Let's check if it is responsive. Of course, it is not responsive. So let's go ahead and make it responsive. So let's say responsive code and at media max width of 900 pixel. We are going to select the wrapper and we'll give it a grid template column of 100%. And this is how it looks like. And this is cool, guys. This is cool. Now let's close all of this and let's open the footer. Now here in the footer, let's change this to footer and give it an ID of footer. So we are going to say column. So here we're going to import our logo and let's include it to this column. And also let's import the social handles. And let's also include it after the logo. So here, let's import our footer data from sources file. And let's look through it here. So list index. Key of index. And let's output the title. That is list.title. Next, let's output the route. So we map through the routes. You can open a sources file to learn more, to take a look at how our footer data is being structured. So we import link from React Scroll and we output our route name here. And let's give the link. Let's say to, it will be route.id. So this ID are the same with the ID we use when creating the different sections we have created already. Key, let's say index, and copyrights. So, uh, all right, reserve. So this does not mean that you cannot use this portfolio for your personal, as a personal property. So this doesn't. This is just for design sake. Built by Emmanuel A.Z. Adinuba, aka Mr. Adinuba. Guys, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you are not subscribed, subscribe to the channel now. So let's write some CSS. BG sent, and let's select our wrapper. Grid template columns repeat for 1FR, and let's say gap is 400 pixels. So we make sure that the handles container, the margin top will be 30 pixels. Also, let's select our route, display it to the block, margin 10 pixels, and transition, we pass in the transition. So let's uh, take a look at this. So you see how it looks like, which is cool, guys. Now let's move our copyright to the center. So let's say copyright, display flex, or we can even come back here. Let's just add flex center here. And all we need to do here is to flex direction it to column. And also give it some padding. So padding top is 0, right is 20 pixel, bottom is 50 pixel, and left is 20 pixel. So this is it. The next thing we need to do right now is to make it responsive, because as you can see, it is not responsive. So our wrapper, let's give it grid template columns 2, 1 FR. So this is how it looks like, but we still need to reduce it to 1 on mobile. So 500 pixel. Let's say the wrapper grid template column will now be 100%. And this is it. Now let's make sure that everything is moved to the center, both the logo, the text will be moved to the center. So justify content center, and also the title and the route. Let's just align it to center. Let's take a look at how it looks like now. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to animate these components. We're going to animate all the components of created. We're going to animate starting from 0. But before then, let's go to AOS documentation. So here you can read more about AOS, how it works. So we're going to initialize AOS in our project. We have already installed it to our project. So what we will do now is just to initialize it. So let's import it. And also let's import use effect. So we're going to initialize our AOS in this use effect. So let's say AOS dot init, and let's specify duration to 500 and easing. Let's say is in sign. And now let's go ahead and import the AOS style. Guys, we're already coming to an end of this video. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. So these are the different settings for AOS. These are the different settings we have for AOS. So let's make use of them. So let's come here and let's say data. Let's add it first to this place. Let's start with this. So data AOS. Let's say fade up. And let's refresh and see if it will fade up. You see it fades up. Now let's copy this and let's paste it here. And you see. So let's use delay. If you come over here in AOS, you will see delay attributes. So we can add delay to this description here. Let's just say 200. And as you can see, it will be delayed. So also let's add here fade. Let's say fade right. And can you see that? Now let's go to the buttons. I found out that the delay we specified is not working. Okay, there's a mistake here. It's supposed to be delay, not duration. Okay, let's change it. So the this will be delayed right now. Uh, yeah, correct. This is how it should work. Now, let's copy this and paste it on. Let's paste it on this first button, and also let's change this to left. Here we're going to add delay. Let's change this to 1200. And also we're going to add offset here so that uh, our button can open immediately the page loads. So let's say 50. Now let's copy all of this and paste on the second button, and let's just change this to 15. And let's go to the hero image. So here on the hero image, let's copy from here to here, and let's paste and let's change this to 200. And that is it. So let's go ahead and refresh and see how this works. And this is it. Let's refresh again. Let's come back again and refresh. And this is it. It's working perfectly fine. Now let's go to about. So here, let's add data EOS here. This one, let's fill it to left, and let's copy this, and also let's paste it on the muted, and also let's paste it here, but we'll change it to right, and let's see, correct. Now let's go to the skills, and let's add it on the skill card. Let's paste it here, or let's say data EOS, and let's feed it to the right. And this is it. Let's also add it to the skill heading 1. And if we refresh, and also when we scroll to it, you see it comes out smoothly. And the next is the services. So we add it here, field right, and let's copy it and add it on the description here and change it to field left. Also on the services card, let's add it here and field it to left. And let's go to the service, you see how it comes out smoothly. Now let's go to the project. So for the project, we are going to add it here, field right. There is it. So uh, let's go to the client. That is the testimonials. So let's add it over here. And also, let's add it on our subtitle. We'll change it to field left. And also, let's delete the subtitle. Let's delete the animation by 400. And let's create this, and let's move this slider into what we just created right now, the element we created. So you see it's inside right now. Okay, let's make sure we move it inside very well. And how is that? So let's close this and let's take a look at it. So you see this, you see it, the way it comes out. But then let's come to this testimonial and let's add it here also on the next and previous button container. All right, that is awesome. Now what happened is when we change this, you see when we come here, we will not see the next session. So to do this, when each time we change our project navigation, we need to refresh it. What we need to refresh is actually the EOS. So let's come over here. Let's import EOS. And when we click on this button, let's say EOS dot refresh hard. So this will refresh it. Let's copy it also and let's paste it within here this use effect. So by this way, when we change, uh, let's click on the navigation, the tab, you see, you can see it's able to see the next element. So let's now go ahead and animate the contact. So let's close all of this and open contact. So let's add our data EOS here. So I want to say feed as feed zoom in here and also let's add it here and say feed right. And also let's add it over here and write feed left. So in our footer, let's add it over here. And also let's add it on this loop here. And let's add it on this. But let's change it to feed left. And this is cool, guys. Guys, this is it. We have come to an end of this tutorial. Guys, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Support me by subscribing to my channel. Click on that subscribe button. As you can see, this is a very good project that we have built, and I will be teaching you more on how to create futuristic UI. So be part of this channel by subscribing, and also please make sure you give this video a thumbs up and write your comment on the comment section. Also share the video if you can. Thank you so much. and remain blessed. See you next.